a way, well, if President Trump gets his way, probably, maybe not completely, but it is a fact that Trump did put this statement on his social media account just last night, saying, for far too long, the United States has minted pennies, which literally cost us more than 2 cents. This is so wasteful. I have instructed my Secretary of the U.S. Treasury to stop producing new pennies. Let's rip the waste out of our great nation's budget, even if it's a penny at a time. So what's he talking about? Can he do that? First, it is a fact that production and distribution of new pennies cost the U.S. Mint a little more than 3 cents per penny. And if you subtract the value of 1 penny, that's how you get to that more than 2 cents that Trump is talking about. And according to the U.S. Mint's 2024 annual report, the production and distribution of pennies has been increasingly costing the government more for years. This chart is just from 2022 up until 2024. But pennies aren't costing us the most. Not even close. It's actually a nickel that's costing us the most. You can see here from the same chart from 2022 to 2024, the cost of production and distribution of nickels. If we use Trump's exact same equation for nickels, according to the U.S. Mint in 2024, 1 nickel cost us more than 13 cents to produce and distribute. So you subtract the value of a nickel, and that's how you get to more than 8 cents it costs us to produce just 1 nickel. When it comes to dimes and quarters, the U.S. government actually makes money. A dime costs the U.S. Mint a little more than 5 cents to produce and distribute. Then you subtract the value of the dime, and that's how you get to a plus 4 cents per dime. And then quarters cost a little more than 14 cents to produce and distribute, and that leaves us with a profit of a little more than 10 cents per quarter. But you also have to take into account how much pennies are actually used and spent. Most pennies that are produced by the U.S. Mint are given out as change, and people don't spend them at that same rate. So that leaves the mint with this vicious cycle of continuing demand for new pennies, so retailers can continue to make that change while U.S. adults usually throw those pennies in the console of their car or in the junk drawer at home. Some estimates say there could be 240 billion pennies just sitting around in the U.S. not being used and not being spent. In 2024, the U.S. Mint issued and distributed 3.1 billion pennies at a loss of $85.3 million. As for those very expensive nickels, the U.S. Mint did not produce or distribute nearly as many in 2024 as they did pennies. They only issued 202 million nickels. But those were at a loss as well. We lost $17.7 million on just nickels. So that's the issue. When it comes to pennies, they cost the U.S. government almost double to make, and then they don't get spent, so then we have to continually make more of them at a loss. And let me be clear, this penny debate did not start with Donald Trump. Even President Obama and congressional lawmakers have been questioning whether the penny was a good idea for years. But the question now is, can Trump as president on his own actually get rid of pennies altogether? Probably not. But like we've seen over these last few weeks with the new Trump administration, they are really testing their powers to see how far they can go. The fact is, the Constitution and established law say it's Congress, not the Treasury Department or the Federal Reserve, that authorizes the manufacture of the nation's coins. But Trump isn't saying he wants to eliminate pennies altogether. What he's saying is he doesn't want to mint new pennies, and that legally may be within his authority, but certainly that's going to be challenged in court. Why? Well, because there's lots of critics and penny enthusiasts who say getting rid of pennies is a bad idea. They say if you eliminate the penny, it would effectively impose a 1-cent sales tax on consumers, because retailers sure do love to sell products with prices that end in 99 cents. Others say eliminating the production of pennies will actually not save the U.S. any money, because production costs of coins are expensive, and removing the penny isn't going to change that cost. Those costs just get shifted onto making nickels, dimes, and quarters.